The NFC North looks super interesting right now. The Detroit Lions are coming off of an appearance in the NFC Championship game, coming off of their best season in years. The Green Bay Packers look really good and have a lot of potential, and just made some nice signings like Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney. The Chicago Bears have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, could get their franchise quarterback, and made some really nice moves on the defensive side of the ball. And then there's the Minnesota Vikings, who, I don't know what they're doing. Welcome, everybody, to JG9 News, where we talk all things NFL all the time. I'm Jared Gear, and I representing the 904 from the 602. And today, we're talking about some news that broke overnight. One of the craziest, most questionable signings, maybe the most questionable signing of free agency, the one that left everyone scratching their head, involving the Minnesota Vikings and their quarterback situation. Obviously, they lost Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons, signed a massive contract there in Atlanta. So the Vikings need a quarterback, and after this move, they'll still need a quarterback because they just signed from the San Francisco 49ers, Sam Darnold, the former 3rd overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft, to a 1-year, $10 million deal. They just gave Sam Darnold 8 figures for 1 season. We saw the reclamation project in Tampa Bay with a former 2018 first-round pick at QB that didn't work out. And then he ended up reviving his career in Tampa. I guess the Vikings are hoping for the same here with Sam Darnold. Darnold, the last 4 seasons, completing just 59.6% of his passes, more interceptions than touchdowns in that stretch. You're going from one of the most accurate QBs in football in Kirk Cousins, 67.9% completion percentage in Minnesota, 67% for his entire career dating back to 2012 in Washington, to this, one of the least accurate quarterbacks in football. A guy that has really shown nothing outside of that 1 month he had during the 2018 season in December, where it looked like, you know what, maybe he could be the franchise guy for the Jets. Had that nice game against Detroit in week 1, that final month of the season, that game against Green Bay. Looked good, and ever since then, it's just been a downward spiral for Sam Darnold. Among guys with 800 passing attempts over the last 4 seasons, so 200 per season, Darnold ranks 34th out of 35 in terms of completion percentage. The only one worse is Zach Wilson. That's not good company you want to be in. Now look, you might be saying you're overreacting to the money part of it. It's $10 million. Yeah, that's a lot of money, but for 1 year, you have the cap space. It doesn't really impact you in the slightest bit. Yes, you give a guy 8 figures, but you get out of it after this year. No dead cap whatsoever. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I don't care about the money from the cap space perspective. You still have $37 million in cap space. You can easily re-sign Danielle Hunter. You can get some other guys if you want. What I hate about this move from the Vikings, it shows no direction, it shows incompetence on the part of the front office, is that you just potentially screwed yourself out of a compensatory pick in 2025, and a really high one at that. So if you don't know how compensatory picks work, long story short, it's not a magical formula in terms of they just randomly assign compensatory picks. How it works is that the league looks at the free agents that you gained and the free agents that you lost salary-wise. And if you gained more free agents than you lost that factor into the formula, then you don't get a compensatory pick. If it's equal, you don't get a compensatory pick. But if you lose more free agents than you gained, you get compensatory picks to make up for that. Well, here's a look at the Vikings situation, courtesy of Over the Cap, which is really, really good at factoring in compensatory picks. Look at what the Vikings have. They lost 3 free agents, and they gained 4. They lost Kirk Cousins, lost Marcus Davenport, lost Jordan Hicks. They gained Andrew Van Ginkel, Sam Darnold, Blake Cashman, and Jonathan Grenard. Now, here's the thing. Let's say you lose Danielle Hunter. Let's say you can't bring back Danielle Hunter, which is a very real possibility. If that was the case, you didn't re-sign Sam Darnold. Okay, you lost 4 free agents. You gained 3. You're probably getting a 3rd-round pick because it's the highest of the players. You're getting that 3rd-round pick for Kirk Cousins. Now, even if you lose Hunter, that's going to be the only Viking that's remaining that probably nets into the compensatory formula or factors into that. So that means you lost 4, you gained 4. That means you get nothing. That means you get nothing. By giving Sam Darnold this outrageous $10 million 1-year contract, it doesn't have to matter with the cap. Again, I don't care about the cap. You could have gotten a 3rd-round pick. You could have gotten a 3rd-round pick in 2025. Now you're screwed. Don't look at this as you signed Sam Darnold. Don't look at this as you gave a one-year contract to Sam Darnold. Look at it as you essentially gave up a third-round pick to get Sam Darnold. You gave up a third-round pick to get him. You lost out on pick number 96, 97, 98, whatever it was going to be. You lost out what was going to be the highest compensatory pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, round 3, to get Sam Darnold. Is that worth it? Ask you this, Viking fans. Ask me this, riddle me this. If someone said, if the Niners called you up and said, we'll give you Sam Darnold, you give us a third-round pick, you would hang up the phone immediately. You'd be like, that's the worst trade offer in the history of trade offers. Why would I ever take that? Well, guess what? You essentially just did that. You essentially just did that by giving up a third-round pick in 2025 for Sam Darnold. Also, what's crazy about this, if I'm a Seahawks fan, if I am a fan of the Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, the Vikings just gave the Niners potentially a compensatory pick based on how the rest of free agency plays out. Gross overpay for a guy that should not have commanded that kind of money. It's like the blackjack player who hits when he shouldn't hit and he ruins it for the whole table. That's what the Vikings did for the whole NFC West. Basically ruined it for all those guys. You gave a third-round pick for Sam Darnold, essentially, for a guy that's not even that good. For a guy that has been in the league for 6 years, has shown you absolutely nothing. A guy that's a good backup at best. He's not starting quality. If he's starting, you're in trouble. You're not competing this year with Sam Darnold as your quarterback. He's never made it to the playoffs as a starting quarterback, and there's a reason for that. Never even come close to the postseason. There's a reason he's got a 21-35 record lifetime, and it's not all because of the surrounding talent. It's not all because of the defense. It's because Darnold is not the most accurate of QBs, and his pocket presence is not that good. We saw that with the Jets. We saw that in Carolina. It's going to be a struggle. It's going to be a struggle for the Vikings to compete this year with Sam Darnold at QB. Again, it's only a one-year deal. You're not tied to him, but it's really just gross malpractice to sign Darnold to a $10 million contract because he doesn't fix your quarterback problem. And on top of that, you might have just lost a third-round compensatory pick as a result. And those picks can be traded now. That could be ammunition potentially in 2025, and now you don't have it. Now you don't have an extra third-round pick, which I think the Vikings probably need with all the holes they have on that team and with how competitive the NFC North is going to be. Vikings, not in a good spot right now, and the Sam Darnold news, it's bad. It's very bad. There's no positive way to spin this. I mean, if Darnold redeems himself, I mean, we've seen that with Baker Mayfield, we saw that with Geno Smith in Seattle. If he redeems himself, good for him, but history is not on their side. The risk-reward, not necessarily in cap space, but in terms of the compensatory third-round pick, it's not pretty. It's not pretty. This is one of the worst moves in free agency. There's been some questionable moves so far. Kenneth Murray going to the Titans for 2 years, $18 million after how bad he was with the Chargers. Gross Matos going to San Francisco for $9 million a year. I thought that was a massive overpay. But Sam Darnold, probably the worst of the bunch. Probably the most questionable free agency move of the bunch, especially because it screws you out of that third-round pick. But what are your thoughts? Do you think Sam Darnold can be the quarterback for the Vikings going forward? Do you think they're going to draft a quarterback? Do you think this is it for the Vikings in terms of how they address the QB position? Is Sam Darnold QB1 going into the season? Do you think he can revive his career like Baker Mayfield did? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And that's going to do it for this episode of JG9 News. Be sure you like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out my main channel, Jaguar9, where we talk all things NFL history all the time. Until next time, this is Jaguar9 signing off. And as always, go Jags.